I think so.
Stand for the pledge, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Troop 261, come up here, please, and lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. This is Monday, March 21st. That was Troop 261 here working on their citizenship badge, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, good job, fellas. Thank you, and thank you for being here. Call the roll, please.
Theater,
Here.
Kensfater,
Here.
Kleeman, Hoopa,
Here.
Laporte,
Here.
Hall,
Here.
Volz,
Here.
all present, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. I'd like to ask for a motion to, for an addition to the agenda under new business E. We need to add the gypsy moth treatment program.
So moved. Support.
All right, the motion made. Support. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so the gypsy moth treatment program goes under E, your new business. Number 4, consent agenda, A, City Council minutes of March 7th, 2022, regular and closed meetings, recommendation approved. And B, Recreation Commission minutes of January 17th, 2022, recommendation received.
Motion to approve A and B as presented.
Support.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, go to number 5, proclamations. We are very fortunate tonight. We have 2 outstanding members of this community who have served this community for, I'll just say, many years. And I think I'm going to ask them to come up here and stand right in the middle of the room, Margaret and Sue, because I have some proclamations I'd like to read, and I think Teresa's going to have a few words, and then if you guys want to give your speeches after that, you can. Well, all right. So this is Margaret Pauley and Sue Daniels. Margaret's in the blue. I'm going to read her proclamation first. For over 50 years of service and dedication, whereas Margaret Pauley has demonstrated a lifelong commitment of civic duty as part of the Sinclair Recreation Department towards promoting water safety and providing a safe place to swim at the City of Sinclair Community Pool. Whereas she has provided service for over 50 years as a lifeguard, assistant pool manager, American Red Cross water safety instructor, and whereas the responsibility as a certified trained professional not only helps others stay safe in, on, and around the water, but also delivers safety, rescue, and emergency critical care, first aid, CPR, when it is needed most. Whereas during her tenure, she has taught swim lessons to multi-generations of families, offering many children their first swim experience. She was synchronized swim coach and instructor, family open swim, adult swim pool supervisor, and introduced the sport of competitive swim with the Summer Competitive Swim League. Therefore, I, Bill Cedar Jr., Mayor of the City of St. Clair, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize and thank Margaret Pauley for her many years of dedicated service to the community. Signed, William E. Cedar, Mayor of St. Clair. Now I'm going to read the one for Sue Daniels, and then I'll present these, and then Teresa will have a few words, and then these 2 ladies will give us their orations. The City of St. Clair is honoring Sue Daniels for 65 years of service and dedication. Sue Daniels has demonstrated a lifelong commitment of civic duty as part of the Sinclair Recreation Department towards promoting water safety and providing a safe place to swim at the City Sinclair Community Pool. Whereas Ms. Daniels swam at Eastern Michigan University as a member of the synchronized swim team, and in order to promote the City of St. Clair Synchronized Swim Show, she was offered a challenge by the Independent Press, a small local paper. Whereas Ms. Daniels accepted the challenge, and at just 20 years old, after training with a state police trooper and the county dive team on a Sunday afternoon, she entered the water of the Sinclair River just north of Blue Water Bridge and swam against the current for 9 hours to the Sinclair Boardwalk. Whereas she had provided service for 65 years as a lifeguard, pool manager, aquatics coordinator, and American Red Cross water safety instructor. During her tenure here, she has taught swim lessons to multi-generations of families, offering many children their first swim experience. She taught pre-beginners, leveled swim lessons, coached and instructed the synchronized swim team for 50 seasons. Introduced the sport of competitive swim with the Summer Competitive Swim League and was Swimrise pool supervisor. Whereas Ms. Daniel not only enhanced decades of summer fun, also organized the Winter Lighted Santa Parade and Tree Lighting Ceremony. Therefore, I, Bill Cedar Jr., Mayor of the City of St. Clair, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby recognize and thank Sue Daniels for her many years of service dedicated to this community. Signed this day, the 21st day of May, March, William E. Cedar Jr. Sue Daniels.
Just gonna say,
Aw.
I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to get through this, so take a breath. It has been an honor, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with both of you, Sue Daniels and Margaret Pauley. They have served this community in so many ways, as mentioned in the proclamation: lifeguard, pool manager, program supervisor, competitive swim and synchronized swim coaches, and water safety instructors. They have promoted water safety through the American Red Cross Swim Instruction Program, and they are mentors to many of the American Red Cross lifeguards that we have employed over the years at the pool. Their commitment to keeping our pool in operation and providing a safe place to swim is commendable. Sue has also served the Recreation Department as our stage manager for all of our dance recitals. She's our kids' bike parade marshal. She keeps everyone in line. And as a member of the St. Clair Theater Guild back in the day, she helped us with our youth theater program too. And she continues to serve the community on the Lighted Santa Parade Committee. So on behalf of myself and the St. Clair Recreation Department, I want to thank you for your many years of service, and you will be missed. Thank you.
Sue, Margaret, the microphone's over there. 3 minutes, Sue, no more.
I just want to say it's been a wonderful term of being able to serve this wonderful city. We're proud of what we did do up at the pool, especially the last few years, just keeping her running. And I want to thank all of the parents who helped, the cooperation of the City of St. Clair administration, the DPW, the police department, and all who helped us in many different ways in keeping the pool safe. Since we opened the pool in '55, I was not running it then. There has not been a young child die within the city limits since then, because of the pool and the place where the people, the children could come and learn, the adults could come and learn, and especially our little babies that we were quite proud of that learned to swim very young. So thank you all. It's been a joy, and I'll be around. I'm just retiring from this position. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you so much for all your cooperation and help.
Thank you.
I just want to say it's been a pleasure to serve and to train all these children to be safe wherever they go, swimming. Even we teach them all the safety things. And like I said, it's been a pleasure, and I want to just thank you for all your cooperation and all you've done for the city.
Thank you. So over the years, I've always known in my heart that the pool was in good hands when I knew that Margaret and Sue were there, and they run a good, tight ship. You guys will be missed, but I have a feeling we'll see each other again doing something. Thank you. Congratulations. All right, so now we have Mr. Dan Lockwood from the Sinclair Community Foundation for some grant awards. Mr. Lockwood?
Mayor, Council, thank you for letting me speak today. Today I come representing the Sinclair Endowment Funds, which is a series of 8 funds at the Community Foundation. These funds were established by citizens of the city of St. Clair and the surrounding community to help fund activities in the community. Today we are responding, presenting a check to Warren for over $41,000, and these for a number of grants that the Treese and Warren have applied for various projects that city is going to implement this year. There's $15,000 from the Whiting Fund for the golf course drainage program. There's $23,000 for beautifications in the city of St. Clair. That would include the flower baskets, the landscaping for Memorial Park, and some changes or repairs to the Christmas tree. Got that right?
Or Christmas decorations.
Christmas decorations, okay. And finally, $3,000 from the YAPS Fund. I'd just like to explain a few things about the funds that are funding these things. The H&H Whiting Fund was set up by Herring and Harriet Whiting. Mr. Whiting was a director of Diamond Crystal Salt Company. This was before it was sold to No, it was before that. Before, General Foods. So we're talking 1929.
Oh.
So this fund is accumulated over there, and it is several $1 million, so it's a very nice fund. And then the Oskin Fund was set up by Ernie and Barb Oskin. For those of you who don't know, they were principals in the Huron Plastics Company. These funds are restricted to the city of St. Clair and can only be spent on beautification projects. Again, thank you for allowing us to fund your request. We appreciate the request.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
All right, so let's move to number 7. Ordinance of Resolution 2204, alcohol and public poverty. Mr. Rothie.
Yes, Your Honor, and members of the City Council. The last few years, we have considered this resolution, which permits the consumption of alcohol in certain public places. I think it is fitting to consider this every year, have an opportunity to discuss how things went the previous year and see if we wish to continue to move forward. It was requested that I introduce this. Normally, we've done this middle of June, kind of later in the season. So again, wanted to bring it before you today for your consideration, and be happy to answer any questions you may have about it. Chief Raker is also here to answer your questions as well.
Chief, do you have any take on this?
All I can say is we did not have any issues with alcohol in the park, or there were some issues in the plaza during special events, but those were mainly intoxicated trespassers or something like that. It really didn't have anything to do with the open alcohol. It was just issues that would have happened whether this was in place or not. So we have not had any issues in the public areas with alcohol.
Good to hear.
Thank you, Chief.
Bill, I got a question. I talked to Warren today. I asked about where state's city-owned parking lots. And I asked Warren if that includes the ones that the city currently has under lease with the bank and Mr. Laporte.
Yes, and my answer to that would be the resolution specifically describes Palmer Park, including all city-owned parking lots and boardwalks from the M29 bridge to the northern border of the park. So from that statement, I interpret that as being Palmer Park and then the parking lot, which is owned by the city and leased to member Laporte. I do not interpret that because it describes Palmer Park as the Fifth Third Bank parking lot, which is also owned and leased by the city. So one is included, one is not.
Okay. Bank's not,
Correct.
like says, and that leaves the one across from Riverside, correct, is the only other city parking lot in the boundaries?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All I got.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
I just want to mention real quick,
Okay.
if I may, for just public information, this is drafted, it would be effective April 1st. The hours that are on here were the same hours that were debated and decided upon at last year's adoption. Again, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 12 p.m., 11 p.m. on Sundays. And again, last year we went through September 30th. This year we are going through Halloween. Just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of what they're voting on. Times did not change, nor did the locations. Although we all technically were starting earlier on April 1st.
I'll support Member Kinsvatter's
All right, the motion is made and supported. Questions?
Your Honor, I have one for Mr. Downey. Am I permitted to vote or no?
Yes, it would not have any financial impact on you, Member Laporte.
Okay, thank you.
All right, call the roll, please.
Laporte,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Volz,
Yes.
Kinsvater.
Yes.
Kleeman,
No.
Hoopa,
Yes.
Peter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 8, Fourth Administration, Mr. Rothy.
Yes, first, I know Sue and Margaret left, but I do think it is fitting to extend my own personal thanks to them for, they were a pleasure to work with in my time here, and it's always good to see people with long decades of public service. Wonderful thing. Also want to thank the Boy Scouts for being here, for your citizenship in the community badge. I remember when I did that myself. It's getting to be longer and longer ago, but I enjoyed that merit badge so much I decided I want to do it for the rest of my life. So thank you for being here this evening. I know our gentleman about Cox Avenue sidewalk is here. I have done a very little bit of investigation from what was done before, and similar to the Clinton Avenue bike path. When this was last considered, it was this dialogue between the city, St. Clair Township, and East China School District to fund a 10-foot wide ADA accessible pathway alongside the west side of Cox Road. Cox Road is not in a city road. We do not have any control over it. That is done through St. Clair County Road Commission. That's what I was able to find out. Is that was the approach last time. Was again another more lengthy grant program, Safe Routes to School, and specifically is the name of the program. And going forward, perhaps the next thing to do would be to speak with the Road Commission, figure out what, if they may have some improvements, they maybe have some funding that I'm not aware of. They have a lot of different funding sources that don't really pertain to the city, and see perhaps what their appetite is, because I think they would be arguably the most important partner in this, as it is their road under their control. So any right-of-way improvements would be up to them to approve of, if not participate in. So I was able to determine that. So I'd be happy to have a dialogue with the Road Commission director. But I know that, remind me of your name again, I'm so sorry. Zach. I know Zach is here and he'll probably be addressing us, but I just wanted to share what I was able to uncover since he was last here speaking with us. Finally, and I'll make this short before I tear up, I have been offered and accepted a new position with the city of Grosse Pointe Park. I'll save my lengthy farewell address, which it wouldn't be me if I didn't have a lengthy farewell address to the next meeting. My last day with the city of St. Clair will be Friday, April 8th. I've enjoyed every moment of my time here, and I will continue for the remainder of my time as well. Continue to serve with zeal and hopefully success. And just thank you again, and we'll have more to say in the coming weeks. But thank you for that, and that concludes my report this evening.
Any questions from Mr. Brothy? Mr. Downey, what do you got over there?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Any questions for Mr. Downey? All right, we got a couple of city departments. Annette, you want to start?
Yes, a few dates just to remind everybody about. The file deadline for affidavits of identity and nominating petitions for mayoral and council member candidates is 4 p.m. Tuesday, April 19th. Everything is on schedule for the May 3rd election. Over 300 applications to receive a ballot by mail have already been received. Those ballots will be sent out by the end of the month. And Be a Tourist in Your Own Town will be promoted for May 21st to encourage residents to explore more of the city, participate in numerous amenities, and maybe visit a restaurant or retail store that they haven't before. More information coming soon. Please visit stclairontheriver.com for more information on that.
All right, Chief?
Just want to share real briefly, some people think that all we do is write tickets and arrest people, but we have some programs that we really help in the community. If you remember earlier this year, we partnered with MORT, the Michigan Overdose Response Team. And actually this weekend we had our first reportable one. He survived, and Officer Wood was able to respond to the house with life coaches today, and hopefully that family gets the help they need to fight that beast. Also, Corporal Ennis wants to share some other programs that we have to help.
Thank you, Chief.
Evening, Mayor, Council. So we're starting a new program here at our police department, and it's been successful so far, but we got these decals on Friday. And if you can read them, one says special needs, well, they're both for emergency responders. One's for autism and special needs, and the other is for dementia, Alzheimer's. And kind of get a little background on the story. It was kind of a big deal. I had a mom approach me last summer. I just want to see real quick here. I had a mom approach me last summer, and she's a mother of a 16-year-old boy who has autism, and he is a nonverbal. So, single mom, 16-year-old, he's about 250 pounds, 6'1", 6'2". He's a big boy. So, her concern was that he can overpower her. He can throw things, he can punch in the drywall. And her main concern wasn't her son. She's like, I know I can control my son, but my big concern are the first responders. I was her concern. And I was obviously kind of gave me a little bit of shock there. And I said, well, what's your concern? And she says, well, when you come to my house, if I ever have to call 911, because my son's overpowering me, doing something to a neighbor, doing something else that he shouldn't be doing, when you guys show up, he may not listen to you. He may not understand. He may not listen to your verbal commands. And you got to understand, when police officers respond to a scene, we're not being told, this is the suspect, this is the victim, this is a witness. We just show up. And if someone's out of control, we try to obviously de-escalate the situation. But if we need to escalate it, we got to escalate it by force or whatever means. But obviously, we always try to de-escalate it. So I heard of this program through other departments. And in her situation, if 911 is called and an officer can see this decal on the door, they're going to treat that scenario 100% different. They're going to go in there with the understanding that, hey, this is a special situation. This may be a person with who has autism and maybe nonverbal, because we have received training in the past with reference to autism and the different special needs that they have. So this is kind of a way for first responders to show up at the house. A mom or parent can put this on the vehicle. They can put it on the window. They can put it on the front door. It's a peel and stick. You put it right on the glass door, and you're good to go. So when we show up and you call 911, we know what's happening inside that house, and we can better address the situation so everyone's safe. Because that's the only thing we wanted to do at the end of the day: make sure everyone's safe. And then we also got one here for dementia. Police officers, we respond to a lot of well-being checks. And what I mean by that is we go to houses because we need to check on someone. A neighbor might call, a family member might call. We show up and we knock on the door. If someone answers, we say, okay, you're living, you're breathing, you're talking, you're fine, we leave. We don't go invite ourselves into the house. We just make sure you're okay, and then we leave. But a lot of these people who live alone, family members who live alone, or they don't have any close anyone around that can help them out. If this decal is on the door and we do a well-being check of someone's house, obviously that can lead us into a different mindset of, hey, we need to reach out to a family member. This person hasn't been seen by neighbors in 2-3 days. The garbage is piling up. The mail is piling up. So if police officers see this decal, it also can lead us into, hopefully helping out this subject. So we got these on Friday. There's a new place in the mall called Soaring Dreams. I stopped by there. I gave them 10, 15 of each decal. Within a day or two, they got rid of them. And obviously they're a place that helps with special needs, people with special needs, adults with special needs. So she called me Sunday. She says, I need a lot more. I put it on Facebook. We're getting rid of them like crazy. So I said, absolutely. We got 200 of each. So I got some tonight. So if anyone wants some, I'd be happy to share them. But and also kind of go along with these little decals is there's an app called Smart 911. And I asked parents with children with autism to sign up for that, because with this decal, and if you go to the Smart 911 website, when you call 911, dispatchers are asking for all the information. Who's there? What's medication? What's the special needs in this house? Who has the weapon? Who doesn't? There's a lot of information dispatchers are trying to get, more or less, to get us information and to keep us safe when we respond to that. If you sign up for the Smart 911 app, which our county participates in, you can list things about your house that's very important. Who lives there? Who has special needs? And a great good thing for us, what happened to me this weekend, an elder lady fell. She called 911, and she was able to tell, we had it documented through Smart 911 where her hidden key was. So she was down in the house. We couldn't get inside the house without kicking down the door. But luckily, she notified dispatch of the hidden key. So stuff like that's important to us, too. So I encourage parents to use an app called Smart 911. It's free. Our county participates in it. And a couple other things on the side. I'd like to just give a shout out to Dale Carney again. If you guys remember, Dale Carney purchased 2 signs across Clinton at 3rd Street there. I think the signs are great. They alert pedestrians, a lot of traffic going across there. And he also purchased 2 more signs to go across 3rd Street. Hopefully we can incorporate into the new bike path coming in, if it comes in. And then also he gave us another grant for used computers. I don't know what that means. They say gently used, but I was able to apply for this grant. We got 5 used computers. So they haven't got here yet, but I just want to give a shout out to Dale Carney, because he's been very helpful with his different grants, and he's been helping this community, with the pedestrian signs the last 2-3 years. So I really appreciate him doing that. But if anyone has any questions about these decals, they're at our office. You can Facebook us, call us. I want to start visiting the schools, dropping it off there. Anything I can do, get these signs out. We got 200 of them, so they need to be used, and hopefully they can be used. Like I said, they can be used in the front doors or the vehicles. It doesn't matter. A peel and stick, on and off. So, any questions?
Thank you, Don.
Good job.
All right, thank you very much.
Good job. Go ahead, Juan.
I got one more important introduction to make this evening. We have hired a new operator for our water treatment plant, and I thought it would be fitting to come introduce him to our community. So joining us today is Mr. Nathan Simmons. Nathan, say hi. Today was your first day, and you're still here, so that's excellent. Thank you for joining our team. Nathan's, again, working at our water treatment plant. We had 2 vacancies there. We did fill the other one. That individual is going to be starting April 6th, and I'll make sure that she is in attendance as well. But this is something that I've been asked to start doing when we hire new people, and I thought it was a great idea, and I figured before I leave, I may as well get started on it. So again, Nathan, thank you for being here this evening.
Welcome aboard, Nathan. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then Nathan comes from Marysville Public Schools, so he's local.
Good. Thanks for coming tonight. Okay, D, authorities, boards, commissions, committees, anything, anybody? We have no unfinished business under number 9. Let's go to 10, new business, approved proposal for harbor restroom flooring. Mr. Shorty's here.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm Dave Shorkey. I'm the harbor master at the Sinclair Boat Harbor, and we had our restroom is something that's needed some attention over the years. We've done different improvements in there, and with the the fixtures and so on, but the floor in the harbor restroom has been an issue for us. It was the original floor. After we had everything, the walls painted, the new fixtures in, we tried to do some things with the floor. We had it sanded and epoxied a couple times. It's a 1-inch tile floor, and that it just peels up with the moisture that's in there. And so we put out the bid for companies to come in and refinish that, do what they can do, and we ended up with one bid. It came from the Michigan Specialty Coatings Company out of Marysville. This is their business. Their bid was $19,689. There's a lot involved with it, both the men's and ladies' restrooms. They have to remove the existing tile. They bring in the machines. It's we have it emptied out. They do that, and if you look in the information that you receive, that they grind it down, they fill the joints, they resurface it, and this is the surface that they would use. This is when East China Township Park redid their restrooms here at the park. This is the flooring that they used. And, it's a non-slip. It's something that once we do it, it's going to be there. It's going to be done. The restrooms at the harbor, it's interesting at the harbor. We have 1,500 boats that come and visit us each year. The number of nights that they stayed was 3,000 nights at the harbor. All these boats have 2 people on them. They use the shower rooms twice over the weekend for showers. We have community events there. We have about 100 seasonal boaters. We have special events there. Those bathrooms are just nonstop from when we open up in April until we close in October. And the comments we get is that our facilities are great, and they even comment on our restrooms. But I'll tell you, everything's fine except the flooring. And I think that if we go ahead, do this project, it's going to bring us up to where we want to be, and it's something that it's nice. It's going to be a non-maintenance after this, just with our regular cleanings, and I think that'd be a real benefit to the harbor and to the city. I did have a question earlier today of someone. They said, could there be asbestos in the original flooring? So I contacted the project manager from MSC, and he said there's absolutely no concerns. He says those are 1-inch ceramic tiles. They bust those up all the time, and they have the necessary equipment. This is a large company that this is their specialty in their business, so he had no concerns about that at all.
I'll make a motion to approve the bid.
Support.
All right, the motion is made and supported to approve the bid for $19,689.19 for the flooring at the restrooms at the harbor. Any questions?
Dave,
Oh, go ahead.
Dave, is there a warranty with this floor?
That's a good question, Butch. I'll get that nailed down with him.
Okay.
I think they've done a lot of work in the city. Also, I know some of the businesses have had experience with these people, but I'll get that verified. We'd like to do this in April also, while we're not busy. You have to reach a certain temperature so that the slab is warm enough. But if you would approve this, I'll make sure that we get a warranty before we would proceed with any work.
That was my question, Dave, was if you were going to lose any days when they were going to start, because I saw it's a 4-day process.
Tentatively, we schedule, it's about a total of 4-day. We would start April 11th, it's interesting. In April, we don't get overnight visitors. The fishing season's usually geared up pretty good. We'll have a couple porta potties out, in the boat launch area, which we always do anyways, but we'll have to close the restrooms for probably 4 days, but it's going to be that second week of April where we would minimal use in the restrooms.
Okay, great.
As, speaking to the quality of the floor and the product that they're using, we do use the same product in the brewery. We've got over 4,000 square feet. We have not elected to use the 2 top coats that they are using, which seals it and makes it much cleaner. We can tell you it is indestructible. The company as well, once they just processed ours, they had an issue. They reground and reapplied the entire 2,000 square feet with no charge. So it's a very reputable company.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, call the roll, please.
Hall,
Yes.
Foltz,
Yes.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Kleeman, Kufa,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Council.
Yep. D, approved proposal for sanitary sewer repairs, Fredmore Highway, Mr. Wilkie.
I'm going to invite our city engineer, Ryan Kern, with AEW to come up, talk about this agenda item as well as the subsequent one.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item involves the Fredmore Highway Reconstruction project that we have coming up this year. Prior to construction, we went in and televised the sewers along that route to make sure there were no issues with them, and if there were any issues, that we get those addressed before we start the road reconstruction project. So we did televise that here late last year. We did find 3 sanitary sewer segments that had severe cracking where we would recommend putting a cured-in-place liner in it. We do have the open cured-in-place liner contract currently from last year that carries into this year, and we had extra quantity in that contract to do any lining that needs to be done this year. In addition to that, we did find 2 sections that are severely broken. They're too far gone to where we can't install a liner. 2 10-foot sections. One's just west of Henry Street, the other's in the approach to 15th Street off of Fredmore Highway. We did reach out to the 2 water main contractors that are about to start work here in the city to give us a price to do that work while they're here in town. Murray Underground came in with the lowest bid at $14,788.50 to do those 2 repairs. Again, we've still got budget within the lining project, and in addition to that, we did have 2 segments further west on Fredmore Highway that we originally planned to line, but with the reconstruction project coming up, we've decided to eliminate those from the lining project and do those under the reconstruction project. Due to federal aid funding that we can get with the reconstruction project, we can have those sewers replaced through that and have 81% of that paid through federal funds instead of doing the lining. So there's plenty of money there in the budget that can cover these 2 repairs.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll support it.
All right, the motion's made.
To Murray, I assume?
Yes, Murray. A little bit.
All right, the motion made, supported to award the bid to Murray Underground for the low bid of $14,788.50. Any questions?
I got a couple, Bill. On the Piper Sack quote, it states in here, they got some pavement removal, coal patch, obviously some stone to fill hole in, and traffic control. None of that's mentioned in the other bid. Is that gonna happen, or?
Yeah, I've talked to Murray about that. They're aware. They were given the same specs for, or both contractors were given the same specs, so they're aware that there'd be some pavement removal, and then temporary cold patch would be placed until the road's reconstructed.
Under this price, along with
Yes.
traffic control?
Yes, correct.
Anybody else? I just have one question. Right under Piper Sack's bid, they said if dewatering becomes necessary, additional cost to the owner. Is that the same thing with Murray?
Yeah, I don't expect any dewatering on the project, but
If they do, can we just take our vac truck out there?
no, probably not, but.
Good to ask. All right, any other questions? All right, call the roll, please.
Foltz,
Yes.
Kinsfater,
Yes.
Kleeman,
Yes.
Kufa,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Cedar,
Yes.
carried, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Here we go, Ryan. C, Professional Service Drinking Water Assessment Management Plan.
I'll start with this one real quick. A few months ago, I announced that the city had been awarded a DWAM or DWAM grant through Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, EAGLE. This grant was a one-time new program that a lot of things were fundable, so I sought funding for a lot of things. One of them was 25% of the vac truck we just purchased. That was in the application. That has been funded. Then a lot of the remaining costs were associated with compliance efforts to identify service lines throughout the city of St. Clair, covering things, wages, equipment rentals, property restoration costs with those investigative works, which we'll be beginning late spring, summer this year. And the third thing was asset management inventorying activities. So in my application, I had AEW put a proposal together to correct some items that Eagle had pointed out were not up to their requirements in our 2018 asset management plan, as well as do conditional assessments of all the gate valves in our water distribution system and the fire hydrants. So we got funding for all three of those items with this grant request. Before you today is the AEW portion, which I'll have Ryan be able to explain a little bit more in detail. But most importantly, this proposal right before you now is 100% funded by the grants we were awarded. Just want to make that clear from the beginning. With that, I'll turn it over to Ryan Curran, who will explain more of what the work actually consists of.
Yeah, so back in 2018, all cities were required to prepare a water asset management plan. At that time, the city only had conditional assessment of the water pipes themselves only. There was no conditional assessment done with the gate valves or the fire hydrants. And we're looking to add, with the grant program, we're looking to add that information into your water asset management plan. It's required that you look at and update your water asset management plan on a yearly basis. It's been almost 4 years since that's been submitted now. So regardless of some of the deficiencies that Eagle has presented to us that need to be added to the water asset management plan, it needs to be updated as well. If you recall, earlier this year, we did approve a contract to do the valve assessment with Hydromax. They're supposed to be starting that work here in the spring. The assessment portion of that is eligible under this grant. And then on top of that, the work that we're proposing here would be to do an assessment of all your fire hydrants and then also update your asset management plan. Basically, what they're looking for is an update to the capital improvement plan. The original capital improvement plan that was in the asset management plan was a 15-year capital improvement plan. They're requesting that there be a 20-year capital improvement plan that specifically lays out your first 5 years of projects that the city's looking to do. That wouldn't be set in stone, but I mean, at least have a planning, have a guide, I guess, as to future projects that you have. And then they're also looking to see that you have a rate methodology, basically, on how you determine your water and sewer rates, and that's put into the water asset management plan as well. And there's some other items, too, that they're looking for, but those are the main items that they want to see added into the water asset management plan, along with the conditional assessments.
So Ryan, we haven't submitted a water asset management plan in the last 3 to 4 years, is that what you're saying?
2018 was when it was
Will this get us
submitted.
ready to turn that in? Will that bring
It
us up
would,
to date?
yeah, yes. Even though they recommend that it's submitted on an annual basis, it took Eagle 2 to 3 years after those, because every community had to submit at the same time in 2018, it took Eagle 2 to 3 years to get back with all the communities with any comments that they had on the asset management plans. It was kind of tough to update it for the first couple of years.
Yeah,
So that's-
for reference,
2018 was the first cycle of these?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
For
Yes.
reference, I didn't know there was this report submitted back in 2018, and it was about mid 2020 when we actually received Eagle's written feedback on the 2018 submission. So
right.
But again, I think what excites me most about this is having all the fire hydrants and the data and the conditions in those available in our GIS system. People can access in the field. Helps with tracking maintenance activities, and it also helps with just planning for how many of our I hope not all of our hydrants are fully functional, but when you have a few hundred of them, well, I'm sure we'll find some that need immediate attention or long-term attention. So
Right.
Again, that's a really critical thing of this too, in addition to the other activities.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Support. All right, the motion made, support. Questions?
I got one. You spoke that we have some outfit gonna come and start some testing on some valves.
Pardon?
There's gonna be another outfit that we hired to do some assessment of some valves, correct?
That's correct, yes.
So what's the difference now, because now this one here is too stating assessment of gate valves. What's the difference in the two? What's one gonna do and what's the other one gonna do?
The Hydromax will do the assessment of the gate valves. Our office will do the assessment of the fire hydrants. The data that Hydromax collects, we'll take that data and enter it into the GIS. That will be our portion of the gate valve assessment, would just be taking their data and putting it into the city's GIS database.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just for clarification there, so this grant program specifically, it doesn't cover routine maintenance items. So the actual physical act of turning the valves, exercising them, that's not covered. But once all that data is gathered, putting it into our system, all the time spent and cost to that's what this grant is covering for the gate valves specifically. The hydrants is entirely AEW doing the hydrant analysis. We're not having a contractor do that. Just wanted to clarify there on why some was eligible and some wasn't.
Anybody else? All right, call the roll, please.
Jenspotter,
Yes.
Kleeman?
Yes.
Pufa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Foltz?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Carried, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Let's go to D. Special event permit, Artful Dodger, 10K, 5K run, chief?
Yeah, I received a request for the Artful 5K, 10K for June 25th. They've chosen a new route. It'll be from Sinclair Middle School through the Highlands instead of up M29 or up North 3rd Street. So I have all the paperwork. Everything's in orders. I recommend that we approve it.
Motion to approve.
Support. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, chief. We will go to E is the Gypsy Moth Treatment Program, Mr. Rofi.
Yes. Since last year's, the insect formerly known as the gypsy moth, now called the spongy moth, the damage that they inflicted within our counties, the St. Clair County, as well as the Friends of the St. Clair River organizations, looked into a aerial spray program. They looked at how other counties handled this situation, and what would such a program look like in St. Clair County. And they went through a pretty lengthy process, invited residential feedback and surveys, and had essentially egg locating or egg scraping activities throughout the county to identify where the spongy moths were most likely to reoccur and where they've occurred before. And so they identified areas throughout the county, including some acres in the city of St. Clair. And the county got 2 bids, and the county decided that in this first year of the program that it would fund the costs of the aerial spray entirely. So no cost to all the municipalities who are being asked to participate in the spray program. The one thing we need to do, though, is essentially authorize me to sign this letter of commitment form with the county that would allow the spraying activities to occur within the city of St. Clair. This is a time-sensitive thing. We are required to get this in by March 30th so the county can move forward. And I think most importantly, for the affected properties, which in the map I prepared, we're looking primarily at the Oakwood Lane area as well as the Goff Street, Glendale area. Those were the areas identified through investigation as target for spraying. These are preliminary, so it could be tweaked a little bit. I don't have any more information on that except to state that this is what I have today. But again, as I was saying, most importantly, all the impacted property owners will be notified. They will be contacted by the county, and if they do not wish this service to be undertaken, they will on their property they will be able to opt out. So by authorizing spraying activities tonight, if somebody does not want to be sprayed, they will not. So do not think that you're doing anything like that with this vote. Again, we do need in order to proceed, we do have to approve this letter of commitment, and I believe the other municipalities are being asked to do the same in these coming weeks before the March 30th deadline. I believe they're looking at a May or June period to apply the spray.
Warren, are they notifying the residents on the day of the spraying that it's going to happen, or is it just you're agreeing to it on the day that the weather is appropriate for the spraying?
I would imagine that there's going to be a lot of and multiple public outreach efforts. I know for sure there's going to be 3 meetings alone on, as they approach that date, informational meetings. So I would imagine everybody would know well in advance when the spray would occur. And I think that's also something that we as a city, when we know that information, we can make sure that we share that as well.
Yeah, I have real concerns about spraying chemicals this way. Kids outside playing, people out in their yards, the weather gets nice, and just to come in and blanket it, it concerns me. I understand people can opt out, but I mean, if my kids are playing in the yard and they get sprayed by it, it's not, I would want to know ahead of time.
So does a mailer go out to all the residents? How is it handled?
I do not know how the county and Friends of St. Clair River are specifically going to conduct the public information. Again, I do know that there was there's 3 meetings scheduled. There's mailings that are going to go out. Annette actually attended a meeting. Do you have anything beyond what I've said so far today, as far as
No more
specific.
details than that. So the affected residents will be notified, the surrounding residents will be notified. As far as outreach outside of that, that is being handled by the county, so we don't have that information right now.
What happens if the resident doesn't respond with an opt-out? Do they get automatic sprayed, or?
I don't know the answer to that question.
There's no health concerns accompanied by this that we know of for people, animals, anything?
There was none stated at the
No.
meeting.
Macomb County has an aerial spraying program that they do, I think, on a yearly basis or almost every year. And it was working with that program and how they coordinated and implemented is what really was the starting point for the county and the Friends of the St. Clair River.
Why is this time sensitive?
I believe it has to do with ensuring that the contractor is able to go and have the material on hand. Again, this is a specific date that the county told me we needed to have this agreed to by. I have.
Yeah.
Is this Sherry Foster, the Friends of St. Clair River?
Yes, and then there's a subcommittee, there's a 3-member subcommittee that led the way these last couple months and over the summer to gather the information from surveys from residents. And the last meeting was talking about how to get the information out, how the cost would be divided. And actually that same evening, the county commissioners decided to fully fund it this year, potentially changing it in future years. And all of the communication and reaching out to everyone affected would be handled through that committee. And that's the information that was shared at that time.
I'd make the motion to approve.
Support.
All right, the motion is made, supported. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Kleeman?
Yes.
Huffa?
Yes.
Laporte?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Volz?
No.
Hensfater?
Yes.
Cedar?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go to number 11, claims of accounts for March 10th and March 17th.
Hearing no questions, Your Honor, I make a motion to approve as presented.
Support.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, number 12, public comment, of anything non-agenda. Couple, 2-3 minutes if you want to speak speak your piece.
Hi, I'm back. My name's Zach Kleba, for Cox Road pedestrian walkway. So, as I stated before, I work very closely with MDOT. I build freeways. That's my job. I asked them about funding. They said no. Said if we don't own the road, we don't do anything with it. So they're completely off the table as MDOT, not as the state. So he made that very clear that they're not the same thing, which this sounds pretty similar to me, but it's different, I guess. I do, however, I have found I've done a little bit of research. I've found a few different ways to help pay for this. I know it's not our road, right? It's not the city's road, as we just learned. But the big thing is that to put this walkway in, it'd be for our people, right? So I guess we'd have to work hand in hand with the county. I found a couple different funds, a couple through the state, a couple through the feds, and part of it through the actual county itself. Now, and that's kind of funny thinking about it now because it's their road, so I don't know how that would all work. And I'm not saying any of these are a fix or anything. It's just things I found. And just from my experience of trying to find money to pay for things. Normally I'm the person getting paid, not the other way around. so I don't really know this side of the story. I've also found some private grants that through companies in St. Clair County that would also, from the description it has, it seems like it would be something that would fall under their grant requirements. I would like, I mean, you guys can have this information. I don't have anything to do with it because it's not my road again, so I'm not gonna be the one doing it. But I would like to see this happen. Obviously, I mean, I waited a month, so it wasn't too annoying. But I would like to help as much as possible to get this done. Last Thursday, I went for a run on Cox Road. And I was on Cox Road for a quarter mile, and 87 cars passed me, going both ways, 87 of them. And a lot of them didn't move over because they couldn't, because there was another car coming. So instead of stopping, they just keep driving right next to me, like so much so if I do this, I'm in their mirror. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it, but we can always, I guess, again, it's not our road, so we wouldn't do any surveys or anything, but there's quite a few cars that drive down that road, and that was just a 5-minute walk after my run. So, I mean, that's a lot of cars in 5 minutes.
Was that in the morning?
Yeah. I mean, it gets real, come 7 o'clock, that road gets real busy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, the information you have at the end of the meeting, can you come up and share that with Warren, and we can at least take a look at it and trying to figure out if there's anything that can happen?
Absolutely.
Yes, I would absolutely love to see what you've been able to find and continue the dialogue, certainly.
Okay.
Thank you for your work, really. Anybody else?
Mayor Sater and City Council, Phil Lundman, 902 Clinton. And the wife says I got to talk about this spraying that you're talking about. We have that problem up at our cabin at South Branch, which is near Hale. And when they get ready to spray, they come around and they either nail a placard on a tree, hang it on your doorknob, put it in between the door, or affix it somewhere on your building. And it's got a full complement of what the chemicals are, what the restrictions are, don't go in the water, all this kind of stuff. So for what it's worth, I don't know what kind of arrangement that company has, but it seems to work for us. We follow the guidelines on it and whatever, because they come out and they either spray the lake or they spray the air for the caterpillars, so whichever. So but they do come out and they identify it so you know what chemicals you're working with. Not that it means anything to you, because I don't understand them. But anyway, you do know what the restrictions are and when they're coming. The other thing I want to talk about is the bike path. First of all, we had a meeting at the house on the 16th of February between Mr. Rothy, myself, and Mr. Ryan Kearns, your engineer. And I thought the meeting went quite well, but there was another member there also, and he is along to assess your property. If you need to have an easement done and the city has to pay you for it, apparently this gentleman is from D&D Consulting, and he comes up with the figure for it. So anyway, I did receive engineering drawings and forms on the 16th of March from Mr. Tim Davis from D&D Consulting, and there's another ending to that title of his, regarding the proposed bike path along Clinton Avenue. After reviewing them, I came up with the following questions. Now, Ryan may have better information than what I have, because he's dealing with newer drawings, so to speak. So some of the things I mention here may not even be in play. We'll see. But anyway, here we go. There was no concrete retaining wall shown to be constructed along the north side of the bike path on our side or on our side of the driveways. Nor did I receive any drawings to the west of me, so I didn't get an opportunity to review any of my neighbors' properties. I did receive a temporary grading easement form requesting 55 feet wide and 4 foot deep onto my property to put in a 10 to 12 foot driveway. This is excessive. I don't know what that was for. I have my suspicions what it's for, but what do you need 55 feet for a 10 or 12 foot driveway? There is no sidewalk or steps or path down to the bike path from my home through the retaining wall to the bike path. I previously had a concrete walk and stairs down to Clinton Avenue prior to the 9th Street construction. They ended up ripping it out. And the reason for that is that the way the curly sidewalk is there, they had an error that they had to make the sidewalk jive with Clinton and 9th Street, so they ended up coming up with a solution, and it ended up leveling that dirt and going down about 15 inches or so. So hence the concrete went. There's a drawing that shows a utility pole in the bike path on the corner of 9th and Clinton. Is that true, Ryan? I can't believe that. Oh.
Why don't you continue then when you're
okay,
done?
all right. I'll get rid of them. I'll get with them on the side. Anyway, if there is a telephone pole on the bike path, that seems to be setting a precedent for other poles, fire hydrants, etc., to be on the bike path. The next one is our last meeting. We were told the curb was going to be moved out 3 feet south onto Clinton Avenue to form a buffer zone. But the current drawing that I have, again, and I don't know if this is accurate, shows a 2-foot buffer zone, and then the 10-foot bike path. What happened to the other foot? Silk's Flower Shop building is not clearly defined on the drawing. And the driveway behind the building is not shown at all. Only a small gravel approach is shown, so we're questioning what is being done in that area. A parking pad for 2 cars on Clinton Avenue for Silk's Flower Shop is not shown. There is a curbing shown, but will it be marked or have the curbing up against the bike path? Reference the curbing down at the Riverside Bar and Sinclair Auto Parts. That little indention prevents you from driving up on the sidewalk and or a bike path. Was that going to be the same at Silk's, or is it just going to be pavement going to be marked? I don't know. That was a question that just kind of popped up. So, all the sewer lines and water lines affected on these properties must be maintained by the proper state of Michigan code, which is 42 inches below the ground level. I don't think that's a recently new situation. If they dig in straight from the streets, you're going to impair our water and sewer lines. Now, I currently don't have a water line at my home. It comes from 9th Street, so I'm not affected by it. But the other property owners, 910, 916, and 920, are affected by it. So we need to look into that and make sure that we're not compromising the Michigan code. Let's see, it's when this project was first introduced to us in December of 19, it seemed to be an easy rework on the sidewalk area from Kearney Drive, 1 mile east to M29. Quote, with one small section being looked at with the cooperation of property owners. Well, I am one of them property owners. And since then, this has become an engineering nightmare for Ryan and company. With all the costly reworks required, I would like to urge you to take another look at this, what you voted for, and what it's going to cost as time goes on, because some of these things weren't even in play at the time, and ask yourself, is it really worth it? Would I do this if I had to pay the bill? If you can justify that, then go for it. And just for the record, the TAP program, which is where you get some of your funds from, the minimum bike lane width is 5 feet. You want a 10-foot path. 5 feet is all you have to constitute a bike path. I have the paperwork here. If anybody wants to see it, be glad to show it to you. And the bridge to Bay Trail minimum width is only 4 feet. But you are asking for a 10-foot path. I think it's excessive, but nevertheless, I'm trying to be a team player and work with Ryan and company and the city and Warren. And I would urge you might want to take another look at this before before you start bringing the heavy equipment in and coming down the street, so. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Ryan, do you want to?
You want to comment, Ryan? Help yourself.
I was going to ask if you want to go back and investigate and come back next meeting. But
No, I got answers to everything on that. I guess I kind of wish our acquisition person had notified me that he was going to pass on engineering plans to the homeowners, because it sounds like he's using the plans that were the same plans that were presented when we met on February 16th. We're in the process of updating those plans. Probably have them updated this week, but the majority of the items that Mr. Lundman had mentioned are being addressed, as far as a concrete retaining wall that's being extended because of the steepness of the properties there, the 3 properties to the west of 9th Street, along with the sidewalks and steps out in the front. The curb, we're bringing out the curb 3 feet out onto Clinton Avenue in order, again, to address the steepness of the slope there. There is a 2-foot buffer that is required from the back. If we're going to put the path up against the back of curb like we're proposing in that area, there has to be a 2-foot buffer. We were able to bring that out 3 feet in order to still maintain a 12-foot lane. There's currently a 15-foot lane there on Clinton Avenue. We're trying to maintain a 12-foot minimum there, so we're able to bring that out another 3 feet in order to lessen the steepness of the 3 front yards there. Therefore, we only have to go, we're asking for a temporary grading easement that's 4 feet deep. Originally, we were looking for 8 or 10 feet, depending on the property, but by bringing that out 3 feet, we're now only looking for a 4 feet deep easement. That's across 55 feet would be across the frontage of the property, and then 4 feet deep, and that's just a temporary grading easement in order to basically remove and replace a driveway back far enough so that we're maintaining the same or potentially a slightly lesser slope than what exists there now. We're also addressing parking in front of Silks we're looking at putting 2 parallel parking spaces in front of Silks, similar to what's down closer to 4th and 5th Streets as well. And we have looked into the sewer and water issues as well. There's some investigative work that might need to be done there in order to potentially lower sewer service leads or water services there if they aren't deep enough, but we are addressing that as well. As far as the utility pole, the plans do show where the existing utility poles are currently. There's several utility poles that need to be removed and relocated. The plans don't show where those are being relocated. We just show where the existing poles are, but all poles that are basically where the path needs to go are being relocated, and we're working with DT and AT&T currently, and those poles will start being relocated this spring. I don't know if there was I think I covered all the questions there, but I don't know if council had any other questions.
Do we have any cost estimates about all these proposed changes?
On our end, there's been no additional cost with any of the, we haven't had any additional cost to the city for any of the proposed, or the changes that we've been making. MDOT's had several comments. We've been going back and forth with MDOT as well. They have to approve the plans as well since we're using TAP grant funds. But there's been no additional cost. As far as changes, as far as the budget on construction, we're still looking at the same cost for the project. The cost of the project has not gone up based on the changes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you first.
There's another resident here, Frank. He approached me last week, said he hasn't been satisfied with his engineered driveway plans yet. Have you addressed that, or?
What's the address?
If I can speak.
Sure.
I have to switch my glasses.
Frank Kleist, 1104 Clinton Avenue, right next to the apartment complex there. Our driveway is such that it's also at a pitch where I hit my my bumper every time I go down the driveway pretty much. And we discussed this in February of 21 at the meeting here, and I think it was Ryan that came out to my house and looked at the driveway and said, yeah, this has to be done, also down here. But I haven't heard anything since. So I just wanted to find out what was going on with that, if they were going to come down to my house and talk to me about it. We also discussed at that time about a retaining wall like they have in front of Phil's house, because of it leaps up so much that grading it, you'd be up to my door to grade it. So you need some kind of retaining wall there also. Let's see. Other points of interest, I've heard different stories from many different people because we've discussed it at different meetings and stuff like, not meetings here, but meetings in public, personal meetings, about the railroad crossing signs not being moved, and the path's gonna have to be moved around that also. Roads need to be shifted near 9th Street, telephone poles, or whatever the poles are, need to be moved. Clinton needs to be redone. I asked also the same question, is this cost associated with all this been calculated? Because that's a lot of different things as to what the original proposal was. I also watched the road all day. I have video cameras set up in front of my house. Cars are doing probably 40, maybe even faster sometimes down that road. We have between 10 and 20 semi-trucks come down every single day. I counted them. It's at least 10, sometimes more than that. And some of those go down that road pretty fast also. I don't know how fast. I don't have a radar gun, but they're flying. I have also heard that the bike path was originally slated to go down Fredmore Highway years ago. I wasn't a part of the city then, so I don't know anything about that. But it was never finished. And that would probably, I said this at the last meeting, would be a better path to go down. I know that you have the issue of Fredmore coming around the corner into town to Clinton with the houses there. But it looks like 3 feet on each, if you took 3 feet and moved the road there or add it to that road there and shifted the road over, that would probably still be easier to do than what's going on here. So I just find it, I have a couple other notes, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second. Can we opt out like the spraying of the bugs? And then I think that a lot of times the vote comes up here real close to the deadlines for these things to be met, and you guys vote them in because you don't want to miss the deadline to get that grant or to get that money. But a lot of the thought process hasn't been worked out yet, so I wanted to bring that up just to say, maybe we need to get things in a little earlier then. And then the last thing I wanted to comment on was, when we were here that night that it was voted in, we had 2 gentlemen sitting here that was part of the proposal package. I haven't seen them since. I don't know who they were, but I guess they're the ones that made the proposal for the bike path. They don't live near Clinton, from what I understood at the time. Nobody that was talking about the path lived near Clinton at that time. But they high-fived each other after it was voted in, left the meeting early. They haven't been back. So I was just curious if they're still involved in the package deal too. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you.
My concern is the retaining wall, if we're gonna get one, and if you can come down. Yeah. Okay.
All right, are there any other public questions or comments?
I got a question for him, Bill. First gentleman mentioned that the bike path could be 5 to 6 feet.
We've had that discussion with MDOT several times. Because there's federal funds involved with the TAP grant funds, it has to be 10 feet wide.
I had one more thing. I apologize. Can I speak again? Yeah. Yeah, you talked about the road's gonna be narrowed to 12 feet from 15 feet. We're gonna narrow a road that cars are driving down every day, but we can't narrow the path. I just thought that was kind of funny when that was brought up.
Anybody else?
So I've got a question. With all of these changes being incorporated, will we be seeing a new packet on all of these changes?
Yeah, I would provide it to the council.
Yeah, I think one of the this is a big project, and this has changed many times in the last few months as we continue to refine the details, work with MDOT. So it may not seem like as a council we've seen stuff, but that's largely because this thing does evolve. It has been transforming. Sometimes when you say, Warren, how many trees are getting trimmed or taken down, I'd say one number, and then now I'll say a smaller number. So a lot of things are still being worked out. As we approach design finalization, definitely that's something we can, incorporate council review feedback, community review feedback. That's definitely something we are planning. But again, just because it is changing, it's I'd rather have it to the point where all the information can be shared now versus having a story that is consistently changing and information that is consistently being misunderstood. The potential for it to be misunderstood is quite high. But we absolutely can bring those renderings and stuff to you.
Well, it's more or less is it not necessarily can we see them?
Yeah.
Will we be approving them, or is this ship's already sailed and changes are being made? And like this was a program that was in place before I
Sure.
took this
Okay.
position.
I appreciate the clarification.
So, like, I'm leaning on a lot of counsel and trying to catch up on a lot of things. Meanwhile, a lot of things are changing. So my question is the ship already sailed, and this is taking place with everybody that I represent concerns being met, but where are we at versus is this going to come back to all of us again?
Yep.
As we're wrapping up this, hopefully the final design here in the next week or so, I can provide those plans to the city, and, you can offer your comments on anything that you have, and we can definitely look at that and make any potential changes that you might have, but we hope that you'd be pleased with what we've got as the final design, but if you have any comments, please let us know.
But the question is, are we going
Yeah.
to do a final approval, or is this not required, and this is a courtesy that we're looking at?
It's not necessarily required, but I mean, I think as a
I think it's
courtesy, I think it would be a good
certainly the
idea.
right thing to do, invite the feedback and the comments for sure.
I would like to see those also.
Absolutely.
What is the original price tag one?
It was around $750,000, $760,000.
What's your breakdown where the money's coming from?
Most of it is from grants. TAP grant was around $440,000, and then there's money coming from Sinclair County Community Foundation.
That was it. At least another 400,000, I believe.
Yeah.
There was 100,000 specifically from their local funds, and I believe 300,000 was pass-through money from the Ralph Wilson Foundation.
Right.
And I think that 700,000 that was a construction cost. That wasn't necessarily the design cost, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify that.
When do you think you'll have these bugs worked out, and then when do you think this project can be started?
We're trying to get this project started this summer into the fall as our goal. But yeah, our goal is to have the plans done here in the next week or two.
And I would just like to say that I did think our meeting with Phil was very beneficial. So Phil,
Yes.
thank you for agreeing with that. It was a pleasure working with you on that. And if I can do anything in my next few weeks, be happy to help. And then you're in good hands moving forward, though.
All right, thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to number.
Got somebody
Oh,
else.
I'm sorry.
We're not done.
One more. My name's Mary Ludman. I live at 902 Clinton, and I would like to know, when we have these meetings for this bike path, where our ward representatives are, should they not be the people between us and the city council? That's my question.
Well, yes, and that was part of the question that I just addressed to council and asking if this is coming forward since my appointment. I can't speak for Mike and his involvement in what's been going on or the others, but my concerns are rising. As I saw the original drawings, the last set that have come through that I believe Phil's working with, in comparison and discussion that I've had with fellow councilmen, members, on how this has evolved and the concerns of rerouting Clinton versus what some of these grant funds are requesting, and the bike path turning in from a 4-foot to a 10-foot and everything that's involved. So that was my question on, are we going to get to see and approve the final? And then if there are other meetings, if there's private meetings taking place that I'm not aware of, it'd be very difficult for me to attend. If those are being forwarded and we can make that, be more than happy to do what we can. But I have similar questions myself, and that's why I asked them.
So I think the ultimate goal is with Ryan Kern and AEW bringing us we'll call it the final plan. Council is going to have time for input. There's absolutely going to be time for that. We'd be remiss not to say that we want to look at the final idea here and tell you what we think. Yeah, that's where we're at. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I just want to say, I appreciate Mr. Realty coming to my home and sitting down with us. And Warren has been Ryan has been a treasure to work with. He's doing his best to do an extremely tough job with all the rework that's involved in this. I just can't figure out why you want to spend all this money to do something. If you drop this to a 5-foot path, just hypothetically, you have almost next to nothing as far as rework. No poles to move, no sewers to dig, all that kind of stuff. You wouldn't be pushing the road out in the street. It's just a matter of it project is being driven by the TAP program, which requires a 10-foot path. That's fine in the country, and that's what it is. But in town, you don't have any 10-foot paths. All of them are 8 or less. Some of them I've gone around and they're down to 60. So it is what it is. I just want to try and work with you and resolve it, but Brian has been extremely good to work with, and I do appreciate you coming out also.
Absolutely. All right, thanks, Phil.
So I guess in 60 words or less, can you respond to what driving the path from 6 feet to 10 feet and what the TAP program is covering versus?
I think it's important real quick to say the path was always 10 feet.
There's never been
From
an
day
intent.
one,
There's
we
never
have
been an
never-
intent to have a small, narrower path because we've always, that was the first step, was to go after a TAP grant for this project and therefore required a 10-foot path. There's never been any intent to do anything smaller with this project.
So
If you weren't going after TAP grant funds, you could do a smaller path.
So I guess the question is then, what is the difference in project cost? Like, is it half? Is
It wouldn't be half, but it probably.
And what's the gap difference that needs to be covered?
I mean, I could get you an exact difference on that, but I mean, it wouldn't be half. I would say maybe 20-25% difference.
Will the funds we have coming in support a 6-foot path, or they require the 10-foot?
They're going to require a 10-foot path.
Therefore, we wouldn't have the money to spend on a.
Well,
Or
we
we would just have to spend it out of.
We would lose the TAP.
Right.
But then if we actually had the cost of what that is, are there other programs that would alter what they contribute? Or do we have funds or not? It's a question that's
Sure.
being asked that I think
No, I get that.
should be responded to with numbers.
Right.
I can
And
look
where
into
those-
that and
where
provide
money's
that.
actually coming from. Because I think there's a misconception, not from Mr. Ludman or anybody here, but a lot of people think this is coming out of general fund or from city tax dollars, which it's really not.
Right, correct. Yeah, that's something I can provide.
Thank you. And again, I apologize for me not being part of the early discussions. It just I wasn't part of
Sure.
those activities.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thanks again, Ryan. Okay, anybody else on public comment? Okay, then we will move to number 13.
Okay.
Any council members? A couple of things. I know they left. Sue and Margaret, I want to congratulate them again, and what they've done for this city is just remarkable. I want to thank Dan Lockwood for being here tonight. Thank you very much, Dan, and Troop 261. You guys did a great job, and you hung in there. Anybody else?
When are we going to start our search for the replacement for our city superintendent?
This week.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Hearing nothing else, Your Honor, I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Be careful, be safe. Thank you.